So hey guys, we're here in Germany and you see this crazy helicopter and I'm next to this crazy guy that lives in Southern California and well I guess you're all over the place, but this is Benno and Benno Bikes and like really a legendary guy in the bike industry, and this is wild. Like this is your booth that's massive and you got this like crazy helicopter on the booth. Can you tell us about it? Like what's the deal here?
Trade shows used to be a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and they're not anymore, so somebody has to make it fun. But anyway.
Until today, right?
Until today. So there's a good story with a helicopter. Like it was last year, the Swiss helicopter rescue team, the Air Zermatt, they were looking for a bike for the helipad, and then they have basically their Zermatt is car free.
Yeah.
It's a city where the Matterhorn is, and they rescue people around the Matterhorn. They do about 1,800 rescues a year.
Wow.
And they were looking for a bike that they can use. And so they, after a good amount of studies, they contacted us and said, look, we want to get one of your boosts. And when I heard that, I said, oh, great, and so I jumped up and looked at what they were doing and decided I'm going to paint it up their way, put their logos on and make it cool.
Yeah, so this is the bike we're talking about here, huh?
We gave it a dual battery, we put the tank plate on it, but most important, they wanted us to do the studded snow tires. So we opened up tooling for studded snow tires with 282 studs. And we went up to their helipad and we delivered the bikes. And so they've been riding it ever since. And so when it came up to the trade show, we wanted to tell the story about how this bike is used by the rescue team.
Yeah.
And
got the snowshoes back here and everything, huh? I mean, and for me, this is really something I've seen since the beginning with you. Just like the design, the style, the attention to detail, and I guess they didn't necessarily ask for this
No.
special setup, but that's how you do, right?
Yeah.
That's how you do
well,
it.
I look at the helicopters and feel like they quite
Yeah.
inspiring. Their theme, their brand
it
is very
Look
strong.
at that thing. I mean, it's just.
And so for me, it was a great opportunity to kind of, go out there and do a beautiful product that matches their
Yeah.
brand.
And so this is the boost, and
So
they've been using that, and they came to you. They said like, we want to be part of this thing. Like, we love what you're doing, and what do you think about us putting a helicopter in your booth? Like that's how they came to you, right? I mean, that's how the story goes.
The helicopter thing
basically.
was a little bit more. Hey, are you guys? Can you have a helicopter for a week? We want
Yeah.
to put on a show, and then these guys, sure, we'll take care of that. And
Yeah.
Basically, they had to fly it in from Switzerland. They flew it in from Zermatt,
Right.
and the mechanic was already waiting here, and we had to land it across the street at the airport and push it over.
Fortunately, there's an airport right here. I mean, it's right across the street,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of things just come together like that sometimes, huh?
It was magic logistics. We needed the booth at the end, we needed the helipad, we needed,
Yeah.
and so they had to take two rotors off and we had to push it in and put it back on, and they'll pick it up next week,
Wow.
But the helicopter's in full service. It's built in 1972. It's
Yeah.
a very rare model that is one of the first helicopters that went up to the top of the Mount Everest, and it was the first helicopter that could carry its own weight.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting because
And it's still in service today. I mean, they still use this as a rescue helicopter today.
Yeah, they don't do rescues, but training and
Okay.
cargo flights
Yeah.
and events like this. But the interesting part to me, it is a very, very sophisticated piece of machinery that can carry a lot. It's very nimble. It's very unique in its own.
There's a lot of synergy between what you guys do and.
I feel like it
makes
has a lot to do with this, and that might have been part of why they've chosen this this bike over maybe say like a bigger cargo bike or something. Because what I believe, cargo is the word cargo is a big ticket.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment. It sounds a little heavy. It sounds a little slow, cumbersome, and you're asking people to do a lot of things on a bike that they may not want to do.
Right.
I believe, you could make a smaller bike that's compact, that they can do just as much.
Yeah.
And so what we decided, we need to give this category a name. We try to get out of cargo space.
Yes.
And we don't want to be regular bikes, so what we are calling it is utility. So we say we are the utility bike.
Yeah.
And utility.
And you got all sorts of examples of this. I mean, you have all these different applications, and this one's maybe in the more kind of camping space. And so tell us a little bit about more of these concepts, because we were talking about this before. It's really about telling the story of what the bike's possible, and and giving people maybe some inspiration into understanding more what the bike can do, as opposed to just
Well, I think it's more, when we designed the bike, we didn't know what people are going to do with it,
Right.
So for me, the biggest excitement, the biggest journey is to find out people that get inspired by the product.
Yeah.
And say, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to use it for the rescue team, or I want to use it for bike packing, or, we have conversations with the military and say, well, how can we use it on the base?
Right,
And then, of
right.
course, you can put your kids on it, and you can use it for family use, or you can just use it as a commuter bike.
Yeah.
Just the variety of this bicycle, it's kind of interesting. Like, I have people over here and say, wow, that's a nice bike, and that's a nice bike, and that's a nice bike. And then I say, hey, it's all the same bike.
Right.
And they go, what? It's the same bike?
That's it.
And I think that's kind of interesting how one bike could be so many different things, and I just call it the Land Rover of bicycles, because
I like that concept for sure. I mean, right? That's we were talking about that, and how people, they look at the Land Rover, but they're inspired by what it can do, and then they start to think of their own uses for
Right.
it, and they just know that it's capable of doing more. And I guess that's actually something quite often I talk to people when they come to the shop and they say, "Oh, I want a bike for this purpose." I said, "You don't know what you're going to do with the bike.
Exactly.
You're going to get it for this purpose, but then you're going to use it for 10 different more reasons, and you're going to want to go here and get a bike that has as much capabilities as possible. Of course, you want to optimize for your most use scenario, but to have something capable, it totally makes sense."
Well, I agree with you. Like, when you buy an e-bike, you think you're just going to do one thing.
Yeah.
As you have an e-bike, you realize, oh my God, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can go further, I can go steeper, I can go faster, I can go more. And I want to go grocery shopping, I want to take kids, I want to take my friends. And all of a sudden, like I always say, getting an e-bike is like expanding your brain,
Right.
Because you
Your world, really,
Your world.
right? We talk about that all the time, especially in New York. People say, they're in New York City and they say, I'm exploring different parts of the city that I've never been before.
Right.
I never would have thought going down this street, but because I have electric assist, now it's not like, oh, can I get there? It's just, where can I go? Where are the
Right.
new places I can go?
And I think these bikes need to be capable of taking that journey on with their owners.
Yeah.
You come in, you spend a lot of money on the e-bike, and then you find out, I want to do this or I want to do that. I think you need to have the capability in these bikes that people can buy new racks or new accessories or new bags or things that make it possible for them to keep the bike.
Right.
So I think the modular system, a modular rack system, or rail system, is very, very important on these bikes, because, like you said, people never know
Yeah.
what
And
what they're gonna do. And,
That's it.
And next thing you know, they buy an e-bike to ride to work, and next thing you know, they're riding across America.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't really necessarily buy a car without a trunk, or a car without a back seat usually, unless it's a sports car. But really, like most cars,
Right.
you have these sort of options. So to have that on a bike makes a lot of sense.
And that's why I think people need to kind of stop thinking cargo or regular bike or this. It's like, you need to find a bike that can do a lot of things. You got a motor, you can carry more, you can go faster, you can go further, hills are no objections. So I think that the bike needs to live with you. You have kids,
Right.
and then they grow out of a bike, then you're left with a regular bike. And so I think these bikes have life cycles,
Yeah.
like your life, like your family has. And so there's moments for kids, and there's moments for travel, and there's moments for commuting.
Don't get it just for that one purpose necessarily,
It's
right?
too
If you can
expensive.
make it.
It's too
open,
expensive to buy it just for kids or
Right.
just for commuting. You need to have the capability of extending
Yeah.
that life out.
So speaking of extending, I mean, so you have the Boost, and then later you introduced the eJoy, and now you even expanded the line some more. Can we check out some of these
Sure.
new things you've been working
Yeah.
on? Because I always feel like, Benno's like a mad scientist. He's always working on something, but now we actually get to see some of these things for the first time today, and I'm really excited about it.
Perfect.
So
Let's
yeah,
go
why don't
there.
you show us? Let's check it
Okay.
out.
maybe real quick before we go to the bikes.
Yeah, that
We'll
sounds
talk
good.
about this. So again, utility, again, having your bike grow with you or live with you. So we believe in a lot of different accessories. You know, what I think I like most about our bikes, you know, like our racks are not welded on.
Yeah,
It's a modular system, and sometimes, you know, when you develop product, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, you have a smart idea,
yeah,
and you want to make a new rack that works better or can fit more things. On our bikes, if you bought a Boost, you know, 3 years ago, and I make a better rack, you can buy a better rack. If you had one kid and now you have two,
or a rack for a different purpose, for example, right?
that's the idea. You know, we make our new dirt tires, we make the studded snow tire. You know, we got little footrests, we got different front trays in different colors. So we always keep on expanding on our accessories.
Great, awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I really love, and it's really quite special that you have all these accessories, because a lot of times you see these different bikes, and I can envision the potential uses of these things, but then you're often limited by the accessories which are available.
Right.
Because as a shop, it's not so easy. Like, we can't be just making racks on a one-off case or whatever the case may be. But, you know, I like that you're introducing all these different options, and then it just totally extends the capability of the bike. So
And the lifespan, really, you know.
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So the other thing to me, again, it's interesting, you know, what I also call utility, you know, utility come in many different forms.
Right.
It can come in the form of a Boost, like an adventure/family bike, but it can also come in a beautiful step through, I'm not afraid to say it, a women's bike, you know. And there's nothing
we've
wrong
spoken
with
about
it.
that before, right? Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say it. So,
Yeah.
Again, this bike looks like a cute women's bike, but I always call it a little bit of a beast. You know, it still has a longer rear rack. It's time and a half as long. It has, you know, 40 kilogram rating, so much more than regular bikes. It has a baby seat adapter. You have big pannier bags that go on here that are still big enough to put a grocery bag inside. You know,
Yeah.
which I find very important. You have you can put all the front trays on it, and you have a very, you know, supportive, rigid frame.
And
without-
it's solid. It's low step, but it's still really
without
really
having
solid,
a
right?
big clunky
Right.
cargo bike. You
Yeah.
know, so what I try to do is try to make regular bikes more capable.
Yeah.
You know, and I like to inspire more people to ride and to ride more. That you know, I you know.
You know, we were talking about this before. One of the things that's really special as well is just the design of it. You know, it's not just about what the bike's capable of, but it's also like, you know, people want to look good and feel good on their bike, and they want to feel like they have something special. It's a fashion statement. It's something that you identify with, and it's really clear that you consider that when you design these. It's not just, oh, we can put these parts here and it's going to work this way. It's like, okay, but this will function
like-
that way, but
Like
how does it look?
I really believe, you know, when you buy a bike, your number one functionality is the ride.
Yeah,
You gotta have a good ride, and that's clear because 100% of the time you engage with your bike, you ride it.
absolutely.
And then the other 100% that you engage with your bike, you look and feel.
Right.
How do you look on it? How do you feel on it? Do you feel good looking, cute, tough, or whatever you want
Yeah.
to feel? So that's important for you to wanting to ride it more, ride it again.
Right.
You know, and then the last part of it is capability. You know, how much can you carry, baby seat this, how much weight? But a lot of the time you probably ride empty, you know, no load, and then part of the time you have some load, and very little time you have a lot of load.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to negotiate these trades. You know, it's all a trade. You have a lighter bike that rides better. It may not load that much, but it's a trade.
Right,
You
absolutely.
know, and as I always say, I come back to utility. It's like three people sitting on the table. One is load,
Right.
one is looks, and one is ride, and they are fighting. And everyone goes, I want to carry more, and then the look goes like, only if it doesn't make me look ugly, and then the ride goes, hey, only if it's not gonna mess with my ride.
The three-sided triangle, right?
That's what they do.
That's it. Yeah.
That's utility to me. So they are fighting and they're negotiating different deals. So
Yeah.
in a deal like this, this bike has negotiated a little bit differently than the
Sure.
Boost.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
there was a little bit more look and a little bit more ride and a little bit less weight.
Right.
So, but it's always the perfect the perfect fight
Yeah.
on one table, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. You know,
Yeah.
they're trying to optimize for that person,
Absolutely.
and they negotiate
Makes-
very hard for the customer. And a similar concept is the
With the E-Scout, yeah.
It's a man's bike. It's a 27.5-inch wheel.
It's got
you
kind
know.
of that. It's got the like classic heritage, but modern lines, and it's tough, but
Yep.
it's still elegant and really.
And yeah,
really
so
like
it can
that.
still take a case of beer, and the big panniers in the back, and a baby seat, and all of that. But it's still a pretty fast-looking, slick little bike. And again, it's slightly different negotiated, you know,
Right.
than other bikes. But I think that process between those three people on the table,
Yeah.
you know, negotiating ride, looks, and capability or load, is very important.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Absolutely.
that's the E-Scout. And then, as a very new bike that we are making,
So we have a new concept here,
new
right?
concept. It's this little bike, which we literally just assembled yesterday morning. I don't even have a name for it.
Wow.
I don't have a name for it, but it was
All right,
something
all right.
we've been working on for like a long time, and it was a lot of different things. And at the end, it came out as a very simple, clean little concept with a funky little design, funky little frame.
Yeah, I mean it's totally SoCal though, right? I mean, you live in Southern California, right? And
right.
and I mean, I have to imagine a lot of inspiration is coming from that. Like, you know, it's kind of, I can totally see riding down to the beach and just enjoying and just having fun. And I mean, obviously it's more than that. I don't want to paint it in a corner, but you know, that's
I think a little bit of an inspiration to me was always like an Italian scooter,
okay.
like Lambretta. I always see Lambretta,
Yeah.
like Vespa, Lambretta. I see that, you know. So the shape of the scooter going down, coming up,
Right,
and then-
right. Easy
and then
to
the
get on and
rear,
off of,
and then
and-
the whole kind of coolness about getting on and getting
Yeah,
off, and
I love that too, because you know sometimes I'll come, I'm getting ready to stop, and I'll just
Like
hop
that,
off like
exactly.
that, and just whatever, and you look cool doing it too,
that
right?
part is it's interesting. And I've been watching people, because it's a totally new bike, and I think you have to learn every product you make. And the
Right.
best way you can learn is you see what's going on in the show.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
come in here and they go, oh.
Yeah.
And the first thing they do, you know, I don't know how it is in your shop, but
Yeah.
people don't want to go on test rides.
Right.
Go ride
This
and go,
happens
no, I
sometimes,
try
yes.
later.
Just
everybody,
sit on it, just sit on
everybody
it, right?
gets on it right away. So you want to get tested? Yeah, boom, they're out.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
And so it's very approachable.
Right,
It's
right.
it's kind of cute in a way, but it's
It's
also
cute
kinda,
but tough, right? Like,
maybe it's like a Honda Element or something.
Yeah.
It's a little bit quirky, weird,
Yeah.
but kind of cool.
yeah,
You know, and I like to think two-wheeled electrical vehicle,
right,
not
right.
only bicycle. And so to me, to do something with a bigger tire that's fun, you know, and
Yeah.
a different shape is much inspiring, you know. So I'm been excited about this,
Yeah.
but I'm more excited about what people do and how they see it, you know. And this bike has a very simple function. It does our front trays,
Yeah,
and this is a new basket that we are making, so you can put all these on. And then it only does two things. This is just the rack time system. It's a clip-in system, and there are many different baskets and stuff like this, and it just clicks in. So there are baskets, trays.
and then yeah, there's all sorts of things. So we use that quite a bit in the shop, and I like also that it seems like you made this somewhat modular too, because those plates are just bolted in there, and it seemed like you can just swap them out and
Well,
do
what's
different things.
interesting later on, these are very simple CNC plates, so
Yeah.
it also keeps it very clean
Right,
and makes it simple. But we can take these off, and later we can work on racks
right.
that maybe have panniers or different type of functions. So this is just a starting point for more accessories and more.
And it looks like this thing could really handle some things too. Huh?
All right,
it's
now,
pretty,
this
pretty
is-
tough.
it's
I know
made-
it's not made so the boost,
it can.
but yeah.
It's made out of steel right now, and,
Okay.
and it's a steel frame, so it's much more sturdier.
Right.
It needs less tubing than aluminum.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so therefore it can be more of a simpler look. You
The
know.
lines, yeah, I guess that's one of the things that I see with it are really quite
You know.
special. And so this is the new Generation 3 performance line on here, right?
Yep. This is the Bosch Performance Gen 3.
So you did some changes to the boost.
That's
huh?
right. Let's go over there. Let's go over here. So on the standard boost, on the boost performance this year, what we did, of course, we had to integrate all the new Bosch motors
Right.
with a bigger chain.
And I mean,
rings.
you guys move so quickly on this. Not everybody is really making these changes so quickly, but I really respect that this
Has
is
to be done.
happening.
You just said it has to be done. Has to be done.
I respect that. I respect
So
that.
thank you for what we did is I made a major shift from the boost. We took the main battery from the down tube,
Right.
and we put it behind the C tube.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a more organized way of
Yeah.
designing the bike. And then if you have to have a second battery,
The second one will go
the
there.
second one goes on the down tube,
Right.
but only for the CX, not for the performance. You know,
Okay.
so you have the second one here. It's an option.
Yeah.
You know, it comes without, but it has a Y cable in it, and you can add the mount in the battery on a CX. You know, the second thing that we did on all boosts, we added a much fatter head tube, and we put a aluminum fork on the front.
Yeah.
That's the second big change, and we gave the whole, all bigger, fatter, more square tubing, so it's much more rigid. And we have this triangular C-tube with a double layer, round inside, triangular outside for extra strength and a better battery fit. The last.
So what are we looking? So this is the CX motor
It's a
that you're
CX
going
motor,
to
yeah.
spec on there.
Yep.
And will it be speed as well, or
Both. For the US, we have a CX and a
CX
Speed,
and speed for the
Yep.
US? And let me just ask you real quick. I mean, it seems to make sense to me, but I'm sure people might ask, like, why not cargo? I mean, from my side, it seems like probably not necessary for this sort of application. Maybe cargo specific is for like really heavy duty,
I
right?
had a lot of conversations with Bosch,
Sure,
cargo
yeah.
versus this and that. It's really just a different kind of programming.
Yeah,
And for me, I think we will have the cargo on there.
yeah. I know they were saying maybe there might even be some possibility that at the shop level, if somebody really wanted, it's almost like right now we can change from e-mountain bike mode or not.
I think they
maybe
should
if
do
they
that.
can
They should
say
open that
cargo
up.
or
It's
not.
programming,
So we would encourage Bosch to
Yeah.
make this option
Yes,
available.
we want
I
you
think.
to do that,
Yes,
Bosch.
please.
Because it's hard to make a choice, but what I understand is
Because
that
the hardware is exactly the same. If it's the CX, the standard motor, that will work for the cargo line, but the speed one is technically different hardware.
right.
So
What I see is what I understand is that the cargo has a little bit more torque at the beginning to
Yes.
get you started. That's something that I'm always interested in.
right,
So
for sure.
for that reason, I think the cargo may be the better solution. When you get on your bike, you want to start. I
Yeah.
like a bigger torque at the beginning. Why not?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It gets you going.
Yeah.
If you have a load, it seems better. I don't see the downside of not having
Yeah.
the other one.
Yeah, the reality is, I think from my perspective, we're still pretty new with this, you
Yeah.
know, with the new motors and stuff like that.
We'll
So
find
I
out.
guess it's going to take some time, and fortunately, there seems to be some level of flexibility there, which is excellent. And yeah, so this is the new setup. That's
so-
really great. And
So
I guess
all over, it's just a much more rigid frame.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more modern
but still
lines,
the same
fatter.
platform, which is great.
It's
so this
exactly
is this
the same
modular platform. And
Mounting pattern. Some of these days are thicker, but all of this stuff has moved. So any
Yeah.
accessories you make going forward go
Right.
fit backwards and vice versa. The
Yeah.
other big thing we did is everybody kept on asking us for the second child seat,
Yeah.
and we basically extended our rack out. I would have to show it.
Yeah,
Over there.
let's check that out over there.
We were really close the whole time.
Right.
And all I needed to do is to extend our rack by 2 inches.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, compared to the before on the boost, you don't need the adapters anymore. You can actually just click it into the rack. So you got 3
Wow.
positions. You got this baby seat position. You got a center position for a single seat, or you got the double configuration. So
Yeah.
that's a check mark that we wanted to check.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the larger complaints that people had in the past, that we wouldn't accommodate 2 baby seats.
I think it's great that you're able to adapt, and I mean changing so quickly too. I mean that's one thing that I'm seeing with you. They're just moving like rapidly in introducing these new changes and doing the new motors and everything like that. That's pretty tremendous and really commendable, because I know that that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. So thank you for that. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
others will be thanking you for that as well. And one other detail you showed me before was this new
Yeah,
kickstand.
let's look at that for a second. And so we normally have a regular side kickstand. And I struggle sometimes with the center kickstand. There's a few reasons I can see. When you have two kids, it's very important to have the bike stable.
Sure.
But in a lot of cases, if you don't have that, or you just have load or cargo or something, a double kickstand is heavy, expensive, and cumbersome, and you always have to lift up the whole bike and go clunk and clunk, and it's not very, very easy to do.
Yeah.
So what we found this year, we did this extra long side kickstand.
Yeah,
that extends out.
I've never seen this kickstand before. This is your own kickstand just for you guys, or what?
No, it is open tooling.
Yeah.
But it's something that we came across, and felt like that was very, very fitting for the boost, and we put it on E-Joy and E-Scout and all our bikes.
Well, you didn't stop looking, basically. That's the
no,
deal.
We didn't. No,
you
no.
know? You knew you had to improve.
When people tell me something is wrong, I listen, but I can't always fix it right away.
It's not so easy.
It's like sometimes I gotta be the soldier with I just gotta.
I'm with you. And we're working together. We all gotta work together.
But here's what
I
like. I found this kick. It's super light. It's super strong. It's super sturdy. It looks.
And
super
it's
cool.
like even if you take this bike on some rough terrain and stuff like that, it's just like it's solid there.
Super good spring in it.
Yeah.
It's super high. It doesn't clunk on the floor. It looks relatively compact, but when you put it out, you can see it is.
You feel it. I mean, this thing is really solid.
It is very hard to pull. Even with some load on the front, it's very, very stable.
Yeah.
So my thing is hopefully for a larger percentage, this will do the job, and they keep their bike cheaper, or less expensive, and they keep it lighter, and simpler and sportier. And again, to me, all of these trades, of a sportier, lighter weight bike is all. I come back to utility.
Yeah.
Utility is not overkill. It's just right. It's whatever you need to do to make them do the job. And I think the load and the capability of these bikes has to be just right. You want to have a bike that you can ride well.
I love what you said about that balance, right? Because that's the reality of the situation, right? There's always going to be a slight compromise on one thing, and you have some different bikes that really do different things in different ways, and it makes quite a bit of sense. So,
well, it's not obvious because some of my bikes are too. I always say my biggest mistake is I make it look too pretty. And when you make it look too pretty, normally it can't be very good.
Right, we were talking about the Range Rover, the Defender example. You see this just really rough, tough sort of thing, and that can do anything.
Right.
And this looks pretty tough though.
I like it. It looks tough. It looks tough. So, but it can also look cute and it looks fun, and that's the different faces of the booth.
Different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah.
Well, Benno, I really appreciate the time as always. It's just really tremendous to get to spend time with you and to share ideas. It's always a pleasure, and because I feel like a lot of our ideas are aligned. This is a new and emerging industry, and it's very clear that we're on the right track here, and I'm very excited to be introducing these bikes to customers. And
well, I want to thank you for giving me a chance to do this interview and speak to you and explain it to you, and I know you are the guy on the front lines and have to I wish I can create this experience here, but I wish I could bottle it and put it in every store. And
well, that's what this video is for, right? Really.
It's a bottle. Thank you.
Really, so share it and get it out there and tell, and it's really about telling that story. We could have dug into the specs more and that sort of stuff, but I think it really is about that story. It's about helping people to understand what the capability is and helping people to get outside of, looking at the bike just as specs, looking at, what it can do, and certainly the example of using it in this specific, rescue team example is one good way, and so I like that illustration, and we're trying to do more of that, and so it's again definitely aligned. And
we'll get you a helicopter in your shop.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you.